I make great decisions. I loved this book. Hey, hi, hello, how are you? I'm Pia. I don't know how many books I read last month. I usually am very prepared and I know this many books. I have no idea. There are a few books that I just didn't actually finish and I could have pushed myself, I could have went for it, but I was kind of busy. Like last month was kind of a shit show. May. Decided to transfer schools, so I've been applying to colleges. I did that the entire month pretty much, traveling a lot. So I'm actually surprised I read as many books as I did. But anyways, with that being said, we're just gonna get into them. First book that I read during May was I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. This is their newest release and I actually went to, I think you can see it on the cover. I went to their kind of like book talk, say a live show, but I went to their signing and it was so much fun. I really love Casey McQuiston. I think that they have a really great grasp on the genre and they create such great queer stories, and this is no different. This is about not Shara Wheeler, surprisingly enough. This is about Chloe Reen, and she and two other people were kissed by Shara Wheeler one night, or one night, and now Shara is kind of missing. But not missing in a sense that's like, okay, we need to call the police, like where the frick is this girl? It's more like she wants to be found by certain people in a certain way for certain reasons. There's a lot like Paper Towns in that way. You have these teenage characters that are very messy with relationships that are very messy, but it deals so much with sexuality and coming out. This is set at a kind of like conservative town in Alabama. Thank you. Okay. They're dealing with a lot of like oppressive cultures, which, you know, are horrible, and kind of having to come out in maybe not the best environments, especially their school system and things like that. A lot of homophobia. So I did enjoy this book. I gave it about 3.5 out of 5 stars. I thought that it was really fun. I read it in one day. It's definitely a fast read. Yeah, I mean, obviously the characters are really young and they're kind of can be annoying. I really like the side characters a lot too. They were some of my favorites. I think this is a really solid book. Then I picked up When You Get the Chance by Emma Lord. This is her newest release. This is about Broadway hopeful, I wouldn't call her Mia, like as in Mamma Mia, but no, Millie, who is pulling her own Mamma Mia in the sense that she's trying to find her mother, which is actually very interesting because her father told her she can't go to this like prestigious like Broadway school, and she's like, well, maybe if I find my mom, she will help convince him and whatnot. So that's really fun. There's like also like an enemies to lovers romance, which is really cool, or rivals to lovers. I don't like the word lovers when I'm talking about young adult, for lack of a better term. This one's great as well because I think that you have a kind of not exactly unlikable protagonist, like less like Shara Wheeler, but you definitely have a protagonist that is hard to like. She has her flaws, you know, don't y'all? And I think that makes her like really interesting and really fun to read about. It's such a fun story. I love Emma Lord. I have not read a single Emma Lord book that I did not rate under 4 stars. So this one I gave 4 stars. I think it was too short. I would have loved to spend way more time with these characters in this world. Like her aunt is great and I really love the love interest in here, and it's just also flamming cute. Adore this one. Then I DNF'd a book. I was going back and forth between DNFing this. This is Meet Cute. This is, it's hard to describe because I was really looking for something really cute and cozy. Like I said, I've been really stressed out this month and I wanted some fun, light reads. And this one just turned into not what I thought. I had heard that this was like kind of had more deep, I guess, elements to it than just a rom-com or whatever. It just kind of got boring. This is about like 2 characters who kind of met, I believe, in college or something like that, and I guess they didn't like each other or something went wrong. I like have no recollection of that. Now they're like meeting again and he was like a movie star? Not like debts. Oh no, he's not a movie star. He was a movie star and then he was like an entertainment lawyer, and our other main character is a lawyer and she's like a family lawyer maybe. Something like that. Can you tell? I don't know. But she is helping him because he's trying to get custody over his sister now that his parents have passed away, and the aunt is like trying to get involved, and he's like, where's the connection between these people? Like, yes, this is like a family drama story, but like that is not at all what I was going into it, and I was just so bored. I hadn't picked it up in a while. I got over halfway through and I was like, no interest in I like know how it's gonna play out, so I don't care. Then I read Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This is their newest book and I have really enjoyed their past books. It was in a series, kind of a companion series of romances, and this is, I believe, gonna be a new series. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it is about, you know, 2 people from 2 different worlds. We have a like world-class surgeon and then this guy who like kind of runs a small town, kind of. He like runs an inn also. He does a lot. Anyway, he's a goat. I again felt like this played into so many things that I've read about before and so many kind of like tired tropes that by the end of it I really didn't care that much. I enjoyed the ride. You know, I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was solid. I thought it was cute. I liked that it was like an age gap and it was fun, and I really liked the discussions around toxic relationships. I think that was probably the strongest point for me for this book. That's personally something I really love reading about, and I really appreciate in representation in romances and things like that. So that was probably the most standout thing to me. But the romance itself was, you know, cute enough, but not anything too special. I found that by the epilogue, I just like didn't want to read it. I don't know, I'm becoming aware that I have a love-hate relationship with epilogues, because although I write them, I have realized I really like writing epilogues. I have not recently read any epilogues that I've really enjoyed. Then I picked up An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X.R. Pan. This is their newest title, and I believe their sophomore title. This is a Romeo and Juliet meets Chinese mythology story. There's many different perspectives in this one. We have our kind of Romeo and Juliet characters, but then we also have their mothers and fathers, their siblings, and kind of a little other people around in their life. And I adore this story. I think Emily X.R. Pan has such a way with writing magical realism. That's all I've read from them. I just love how they weave together contemporary and fantastical elements. It's so seamless that it doesn't feel like too much of one or the other. And I really enjoyed this story. I love Romeo and Juliet retellings. They're some of my favorite things. I just really love Romeo and Juliet. So if you were gonna, you know, do a retelling, it's gonna make me happy. And then like the Chinese mythology elements were so interesting to read about, and since I was unfamiliar with them, I had such an exciting reading experience finding out what was gonna happen. Obviously, if you are more familiar with the myth, then you'll know what's gonna happen. But for me, it was like, oh my god, what's going on? I mean, besides that, the relationships in this book were so strong, like the characters themselves. I loved not only our relationship with the two main characters, which was beautiful, like so well done, and you really felt the draw to one another and the connection between those two, but their family dynamics were super interesting, and each character had such clear intentions and motivations, and I feel like you really got a good sense of every single character in the family and not just our two main characters, which was really interesting to read about, especially since all of them were such like not perfect main characters, or not perfect characters. They were definitely morally gray and had their own flaws and faults. That was another thing that I really enjoyed about this book. So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read a book that a lot of people have read recently, or at least that I've seen. I picked up Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is her newest book, and I have really enjoyed Emily Henry's previous 2 rom-com books. I would say, I think I'm in the minority here, but I think People We Meet on Vacation was my favorite. I don't know. Anyway, this is Book Lovers. This is about a literary agent and an editor who butt heads a lot for like no plausible reason, like no real reason. Find out that they have like a mutual interest in this client and this client's book, and they are kind of brought together because of that, and also because it has another like small town aspect where like big city, small town. That's also going on because he, of course, runs the bookshop in the small town and his family runs it or whatever. I think that the things that I love about Emily Henry stayed true for this book. You know, I think that I really liked the sister relationship that was going on. I think the romance was fine, but I liked kind of the other things that were going on. I just think that, again, like I said, this had too many tropes that I didn't particularly enjoy. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of like enemies to lovers. I think that I much prefer friends to lovers, or just like, it just didn't seem like enough enemies for a reason and enough reason for the two to stay apart. So that was kind of frustrating, I guess. And yeah, I mean, I think that for me, these characters weren't my favorite to read about or read from. I feel like I didn't really get to know them too well. Over the course of the book, I think they started pretty cold and distant and pretty set in their archetypes as well. But I didn't really feel like at the end of the book, I felt closer to them, which sounds like this was a bad book. I read this in one setting, so it was an enjoyable experience. I had like essentially the experience I would have had if I was like watching a movie. So I gave it 4 stars because it's Emily Henry, and I think she, although there are so many things I didn't enjoy per se, I think that her writing is enough to make it worth it, I guess. Not my favorite Emily Henry. I don't think it's anyone's. If it's your favorite, like I really don't get it. Honestly, like please explain to me if you love Book Lovers, because I just didn't get it. I felt like it was very forced and very obvious, and I didn't like that. So we have to talk about another book I didn't like, which always makes me sad. This is The No Show by Beth O'Leary. Beth O'Leary is one of my favorite authors. So why did I not like this book? Okay. It's so hard for me to explain why I didn't like this book because it would be a spoiler, so I'm gonna try my darndest. This book is about these 3 women who are all stood up on Valentine's Day by the same man. This guy. I was picturing like Chris Evans, but I was like, why do I hate him? Because I love that man. Anyway, they're all stood up on Valentine's Day, same man, whatever. And so you get their 3 perspectives. Biggest pitfall in this book for me was that there were so many perspectives, was that there were 3 perspectives, and 3 love stories really, and there just wasn't enough time to really develop all of them and for me to get to know the characters and the relationships. I did have one character I really enjoyed, but they ended up not being what I thought. I mean, I can't explain. And I think that the way the author withheld information was unkind to the reader, and I think it was disrespectful. This is one of those books that, like, if you'll read it the first time, then you'll be like, oh my gosh, it all clicks into place, and then you'll like read it again and you'll have an entirely different perspective. And I think that the things that were withheld in order for, you know, like shock factor just really felt kind of rude to me. It really honestly made me mad, this book. I don't often get mad at books, but I got really mad at this book because I was like, of course this is what's happening, and of course you would do this, and it felt so cheap almost, and it really made me upset. So I think that it was ambitious and it just didn't fulfill what I think it was intending to do. I think if you enjoyed her previous books, I don't know if you would enjoy this. I'm genuinely gonna say I don't think so, because I don't really think so. And I know she was trying something new, but I give it 2 stars. So like I was saying, I really want to comfort this month, last month, whatever. And I decided to pick up some rereads. And by pick up some rereads, I only did one because I had other things to do. So I ended up rereading Red, White, and Royal Blue. I know, this makes like such nice noise. I annotated it, and this was very interesting for me because I think about books that I really enjoy, if not love. I so clearly remember reading them and where I was in my life, what I was doing, how certain things impacted me. And I think I had that kind of nostalgic experience for this book, but I also didn't love it as much as I thought I would, which was very surprising for me. When I read this book back in the summer of 2019, I fell in love with it. I believe I gave it 4 or 5 stars. Yeah, I really remember enjoying it, and I went back and watched my blog and I was like, I also canceled this video where I was gonna read this, so anyway. I really couldn't get over it. It was really great, and I think I read it very fast, and whatever. I went back and reread it. I feel like shit talking about this, but anyway, this is about the first son of the United States, Alex, and the, what's it called? And the young royal Henry. What is he? He's like a prince. He's whatever. Anyway, this is getting turned into a movie. I cannot wait for the movie. They just announced the cast and I said, wow, I'm excited. But I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. I think that's very clear that this is a debut, that this is, you know, someone's baby. And that's why I don't want to like pull it apart. I think that Casey McQuiston is hilarious. I think that their writing has so much wit and so much heart, but I just think at the end of the day, there's too much of this book. There's too much. It's almost indulgent in a sense because there are just full-on scenes that you just don't need. I feel bad because I'm like, oh my god, this is so cute, but like completely unnecessary. So I definitely think that, I mean, this is a long book for an adult contemporary romance. It's over 400 pages. Who does that besides like self-published books? Which is why I'm like, here we are. This is not self-published, but it does make me think of like my experience I had last year reading The Spanish Love Deception. And I was like, who didn't edit this book? Like, why? Why is there so much? And I genuinely think that there could be at least 50 pages, if not 100 pages of this gone and just condensed. I think that it would be a lot faster to read. I think that it would be a lot more enjoyable, and those are my thoughts. I still love this story, and that's why I'm actually really excited to see it as a movie. I believe I know that Casey McQuiston is writing it, and I think that, you know, I've really seen some incredible growth in their writing, especially since I said I just read their, you know, latest book, and that was their first book, so I'm very interested to see that. I don't hate this book by any means. It's just no longer a favorite. It's a favorite story, it's not a favorite book. There we go. Okay, these last 2 books I finished on the same day, so. Okay, first we have A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow. This has started like my tea phase. I'm like in my tea era. I just want to be British, I think. This is about our main character, Leela, who is going to England for the summer. She kind of was like forced to go there in some ways because she really was at her breaking point. Her boyfriend of, I think like 2 years, dumped her for no discernible reason. And her best friend is like, didn't exactly lie to her, but is no longer going to the college that they chose that they were gonna go to together. And she has kind of run herself ragged. So her family sent her to England to stay with her relatives, her cousin I want to say, and, you know, get a break from it all, I guess. This book in some ways reminds me a lot of one of my favorite books, which is A Heart in the Body of the World. I think the main characters are quite similar. This has a big focus on food, which I love. Our main character is a baker, and a great one at that. She is bringing so much joy and life to the cooking where she is staying. And we have our love interest who brings the tea into the equation, which is very fun. There's a lot of parts of it that remind me of other stories that I've read, and I think it just did such a great job of taking elements that I enjoy and putting them all together. I love things about travel or people in new places that are unfamiliar to them. I love I love things about stories about music, and so it had so many things that I really enjoy, and I gave this 4 to 5 stars. I think it's definitely a worthwhile read. It also had running, which I love. You didn't know I love running. It's like one of my favorite things. Even though I'm not very good at it, I still love it. This also deals with themes of grief, as Leela is moving also because her abuela has recently passed away and she was so close with her. And yeah, I mean, this really has so many things that I enjoyed and I really recommend it. I feel like I've been gearing up to talk about this book for a while and I still don't think I've had enough time to prepare. We have Normal People by Sally Rooney. I don't want to tell you why I read this book because it's like a really stupid reason, but I read this book because someone said that they really liked it and I really respected their opinion apparently. So I picked it up immediately. I make great decisions. I loved this book. Anyway, I adored this book. I read this in one sitting. I decided to listen to the audiobook as well while I read it, which was really great. I really liked having the accents of this book because it's set in Ireland and I am very much not Irish and would not have known how to read in an Irish accent, I guess. It's in a fictional town with fictional people. We have Connell and Marianne, and they don't really meet in high school, but they've known each other for a while. We meet them when they're in high school, and Connell is in this kind of popular crowd and he does not fit in, doesn't really have the same, let's say, values, to put it nicely, as his peers. He loves to read, he's really great at school. I know, I sound like an idiot talking about this book. And then we have Marianne, who has no friends. She's constantly bullied and harassed by none other than Connell's friends, and she is also very smart. They're like the smartest people ever. Connell's mother works for Marianne's family. She is like not a housekeeper, but she cleans their house a couple times a week, I believe. So you kind of have this difference in social class as well, which is a huge theme throughout the book. And Marianne and Connell kind of find this solace in one another. That's a friendship and a romantic relationship, all the while, you know, keeping it secret and having to kind of hide who they are on the outside, but they really can only be themselves around each other. There's so many trials and tribulations. We follow them for, God, how many years even is it? I don't know. But we follow them, you know, after high school, through college, and kind of beyond, I guess. How their relationship shifts and grows and changes and breaks and falls apart and comes back together. And it was so beautiful. I think it's so beautifully done. You have such flawed, such fractured characters that, you know, make the wrong decisions, that, you know, are aggravating, that don't speak their mind, that miscommunicate. And I think that's a big thing in this book is miscommunication. These two characters really live in their head, and you alternate perspectives every chapter and you just hear them saying like, I didn't say that, but this is what I was thinking. You know, it's frustrating at times, I guess, but I think they're such human characters. This is some of the most like raw depictions of humanity almost. I dare say. And I loved it. It was so good. I mean, there's so many trigger warnings in this book. There's a lot of like domestic abuse and violence, and talks about kind of sexual abuse and things like that. So please tread with caution. This is an adult book. It is very adult. There's also a lot of sex in this book, which I think Sally Rooney really wanted to go for, and like go her for that. But you know, I mean, did you need to know? I feel like it's almost more explicit in the show. I directly, after finishing this, watched the show and I said, wow, am I the biggest fucking masochist in the world? I can't go through this again. This is a great book. I really wish these two people existed in real life. Well, not really. I don't really wish they went through what they went through, but that there are people that can always find each other. There's a quote about finding light, and now I'm gonna like quote Harry Potter, which I don't want to do, especially in this context, but about finding light and joy despite everything, which is kind of the gist of the quote. And I think that's really what this book is about, because although there's a lot of violence and heartbreak and depression, it's just like, and they still found each other, you know? It's great. It's lovely. 5 stars. Those are all of the books that I read in May. I don't know how many it was. I think it was like kind of a lighter reading month for me, but I did read some, I mean, at least one all-time favorite, can we say? Okay, next month I'm probably not going to be reading a lot, probably, just because I am going to be focusing on writing and finishing my manuscript. So I have no doubt in my mind that by the end of the month I will have some book reviews to share with you guys from the books that I have read. So yes, that being said, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to all the things, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!